Well, they've done it again. The 49ers beat yet another opponent by more than a score. 28-16. This was gritty. This wasn't your typical 49ers blowout. They had a strain for this one. They had to fight through several mistakes in this one. I look at the blocking penalty that they suffered on the fake punt, the first fake punt of the Kyle Shanahan era. I look at Brandon Ayuk's fumble downfield after an explosive pass from Brock Purdy, but I also see a 49ers team that is just overpowering week after week after week. And, we knew that this was not going to be one of those perfection games for the 49ers. You're never quite perfect, but they got pretty damn close over the final 3 quarters against Philadelphia. I think we knew that this was going to be a maturity test because they were coming off shorter rest than the Seattle Seahawks. They were coming off an emotional win. The Seahawks were going to be desperate. The 49ers had some key injuries, including one to Eric Armstead, and they suffered another one during the game to Javon Hargrave, and obviously Charvarius Ward missed almost all of this game, so they were down their top cornerback, the biggest answer to DK Metcalf, but the 49ers still somehow, some way found a way to get it done, and they got it done by multiple scores. You're not supposed to win at the NFL level consistently by multiple scores. That is a true sign of greatness, so you could consider the maturity test passed for the 49ers. All the ingredients for a letdown game were there, and they still went out and won by 12 points, 28-16. Now, Brock Purdy, his MVP case strengthened. Brock Purdy, a career high, 368 yards, 13.6 yards per attempt for Brock Purdy. The 49ers offense averaged 9.9 yards per play. These are all highs of the Shanahan era. And the 49ers, they didn't even find a rhythm offensively, I thought, today. It was about the explosive plays. And that's what a great offense can do. And the 49ers are the number 1 offense in the league. Even in games where it's a little bit weird, where there's some, inopportune turnovers, like when Julian Love did run down Brandon Ayuk, like when Ayuk and Purdy seemed to have a miscommunication and the ball bounced off the receiver's hands and went to Julian Love. Those are 2 great takeaways, by the way, from the Seattle safety. Even when that kind of stuff was happening, the 49ers just would land haymaker after haymaker after haymaker. First play of the game was an explosive play, right? Christian McCaffrey, 72 yards. 49ers averaged like 20 yards a carry running left today behind Trent Williams and George Kittle. On the first Christian McCaffrey 72-yard run, Deebo Samuel laid a block on Boye Mafe. That is a receiver blocking a defensive end. The only place in the NFL where that's happening is here at Levi Stadium when the 49ers are playing. Other NFL teams don't have receivers successfully block inline defensive ends right near the point of attack. And the 49ers do that on the regular. That sprung Christian McCaffrey for the 72 yards. I guarantee you when I head into the locker room right now, Christian's going to be upset that he didn't score on that play. But Jordan Mason came in like the vultured away Christian McCaffrey's touchdown. That was the first explosive. We saw, I think Seattle was able to get the 49ers out of rhythm by really preying on those short intermediate passes early, right? There wasn't a lot of room for Brock Purdy to throw, but we had seen that so many times before, so I tweeted right when that happened, hey, the 49ers are just going to stretch the field. Whenever a defense tries to gamble on the shorter throws, Brock Purdy is the best deep thrower in football. He has the highest completion percentage, the highest yards per attempt. He's thrown more deep touchdown passes than anybody in football, and that's exactly what he did. You saw Jamal Adams try to cover Deebo Samuel. It didn't look pretty. Deebo gets behind Jamal Adams. Brock Purdy throws over the top of the defense. So much for all those people last week, mainly from Philadelphia, saying that Brock Purdy's a yak merchant. Right, he has a 64% completion percentage on deep throws, which is 7 points higher than number 2 in the NFL. Brock Purdy has 10 deep touchdown passes this season. That's more than any other quarterback in football. He hit George Kittle over the top a little bit later in the game. He hit Brandon Ayuk on one of the most sensational throws I've seen from Brock Purdy. He was rolling to his left in the 3rd quarter, and he threw Brandon Ayuk open deep. And remember, that was Brock Purdy's weakness last year, right? His weakness last year was rolling to the left. Once you flushed him out of the pocket, especially off of like a 7-step drop, all hell would break loose and he would just try to scramble or he would spin around and throw it away. This time he threw Brandon Ayuk open for a huge, huge gain. So, Brock Purdy, I don't know if he has a weakness in his game anymore. And that's scary because he's 23 years old. And again, he just went for 368, 2 touchdowns, and 13.6 per attempt. McCaffrey ran for 145 yards, 72 of which opened the game. The left side of the 49ers line is lethal. But we got to talk about the grittiness of the defense, because I mentioned Javon Hargrave has the hamstring injury. We'll see, what happens there. We'll see what happens with Charvarius Ward, groin injury. They're going to need these guys back by December 25th against the Ravens. I don't think they need them back to win next week against the Arizona Cardinals, but December 25th is lining up as potentially the game that's going to determine the 1 seed. We'll see what happens between Philadelphia and Dallas tonight. But the 49ers defense started leaking a little bit of oil. I thought that the tackling wasn't great again today. That's a concern that they have to fix. Seattle was definitely the fresher team. They had that advantage. You saw some of those runs from Kenneth Walker and from Zach Charbonnet with the missed tackles, and the 49ers didn't look good. I mean, Seattle even they stole the 49ers double screen pass fake and the throw to George Kittle for the touchdown last year on Thursday night against the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks ran that play against the 49ers, and they ran it successfully. And you saw the little grin from Pete Carroll on the sideline after that heist. And on that play, it was Colby Parkinson, the tight end out of Stanford, the former volleyball player actually in high school, big, tall tight end. On that play, it didn't look like the 49ers were all that interested in contact and tackling Colby Parkinson. So that's something, it's a mentality. It's something that I think underscores the importance of this team getting the 1 seed, because you got to be hungry for contact. You got to take it personal defending that goal line, and you don't want to let Drew Lock do as much damage as he did against this defense today. But again, the 49ers had less rest than the Seahawks, and the 49ers also were missing key pieces. And I thought that in totality, it was a gritty effort for this defense, because they had to go back to Isaiah Oliver in the slot, and that was a problem at times against Tyler Lockett for the 49ers against the Seattle Seahawks. Obviously, DK Metcalf was an issue to cover for this team, but then they stepped up and they got it done. Jair Brown, that was his best game. He's growing up in front of our eyes as the safety. He's in the right place at the right time. That pick that he grabbed late, that was big time. That was a maturity interception for Jair Brown. When the 49ers needed to put a stomp down on the Seahawks, they did. And then we saw the Willie Mays interception from Fred Warner, right? Finally, the 49ers pass rush got going. Without Armstead and without Hargrave, they had to get it really creative on the interior, because it started to look a lot like 2022 when they didn't have much of that interior pass rush. So they lined Nick Bosa up over center. And Nick Bosa was the one that got to Drew Lock. And then just a couple plays later, the pressure comes in, and there's obviously the very, very errant throw as the 49ers hit Drew Lock over the middle of the field. That turns into the Willie Mays interception for Fred Warner. Stole interception number 2 from Jair Brown, and that sparked a little bit of a brawl. I don't understand how DK Metcalf can be mad about physicality after an interception issued against him in terms of blocking when he's Mr. I'm going to run down. And it's great effort from him when you see some of the highlights of him running down Budda Baker from a couple years ago. But DK Metcalf, on a broken interception type of play, he's a threat out there. So the 49ers got physical with him, and I think that they got into the Seahawks' heads. I think that was the loss of cool there for DK Metcalf was a result of the 49ers really owning Seattle. Think about that. Since 2021, 49ers have now played Seattle 5 times over the past 2 seasons. 3 times last year, 2 times this year. They've won all 5 of those games. They've controlled the aerial game in all of those wins. They've controlled the line of scrimmage too, but mainly the aerial game, and it was more of the same today. Brock Purdy, 368, 2 touchdowns, 9.9 yards per play. The efficiency for the 49ers really is something else. So this team, every week they legitimize their status as Super Bowl contenders. Winning by 2 possessions in the NFL is a big deal. And the 49ers, all 10 of their wins have come by 2 possessions. Yes, I'm counting week 2 against the Rams as well. That was a cheap field goal from the Rams at the end. So Cardinals game next. 49ers will be heavy favorites in Arizona. I'm about to head to the locker room. 10-3 the 49ers are. Now they get the kick back on Sunday night and watch the Eagles and the Cowboys go at it. If Philadelphia loses to Dallas tonight, the 49ers will be in first place in that NFC race.